Hi everybody. It's been a while, and I guess it hasn't been that long since we focused on the RV, but today we're going to work on the RV a little bit. We got some stuff to get ready for. The seasons are changing. Fall, autumn is coming up pretty quick. So we got to make sure this thing is going to be able to survive negative 40 below degree weather again. You guys remember a few videos ago us dealing with an extension cord that almost caught the RV on fire? I'll link for that video up here. Basically, I got that extension cord replaced, and we've been all good since then. The weather's kind of calmed down a little bit. We haven't had any more like 120 degree days since that video. But now I'll go ahead and look at the rest of the electrical system on the bus because I handmade this system myself. I'm not licensed. I don't have a degree in any of this. It's just something that I've kind of focused on my whole life, and we haven't had any fires yet, and I don't want any fires. So the way that we're going to keep that from happening is I'm going to go over all the work that I did last year, and we're going to make sure that nothing has gotten too hot and that this thing is still safe to leave plugged in, because the last thing we want coming up into the winter when we're going to have a larger electrical demand on this thing is something that is not working correctly or loose or could potentially be a fire hazard. Let's start the process of shutting everything on the RV off, because before we start working on electrical connections, you have to completely disconnect the electricity from the whole RV. So let's do that now. Our first step is basically just going to be to get this opened. Here's the back of my refrigerator. It is a apartment or a house refrigerator that we had bought and replaced last year. Link will be up there in the cards as well to when we did that. But basically, I have this thing set up so that I could run it off of a motorcycle battery if I need to for a day, 2 days, if I need to when the weather gets hot or it gets too cold. Or like this, when I'm doing a power check on the system and I don't want all my food to get warm, basically all I have to do is come over here and turn this inverter on. It's a 12-volt inverter. And this does get trickle charged from the coach batteries. I could put bigger cables in here. It's always been something that I've wanted to do, but you know how it is. You know how owning an RV is. So we just unplug that and we just plug it into there. Gotta film that better, right? There you go. You see it pops on for that a little bit. And it kicks right back down, and we're running on battery. Got that done. Now I can go inside and start disconnecting everything inside of there that needs to be disconnected. Did you guys follow along? While we do all that. Yeah, we're adults. We watch video games instead of soap operas. What do you want for us, huh? We're gonna go ahead and just shut our computer completely down. And once that shuts down, I have a UPS back here. All this stuff is set up so if the power ever did go out, I have backups on backups on backups here. If our power ever did go out, we probably have about an hour, hour and a half that I could run the modem and the TV and the computer and stuff. I can run all that, even the Xbox. I have a battery supply up here that'll run it for a few hours. That's kind of nice. All right, computer's off. Let's turn the TV off. Let's unplug. Well, the modem will unplug itself, I guess. But what I really want to do is I want to get up here. I want to find the button. Oh, I hated that. Okay. All right, I don't have power on that anymore. Another one over here. Here's the other UPS power supply. So we're gonna go ahead and shut that off now. We use this all the time for our voltage readout to know how much power we're using here. And this is for my Xbox and the monitor and all my racing setup. So if we ever have a power loss, all the important stuff I have double, triple backed up, because the last thing I want is to blow some expensive electronics up because I don't know how to. So now we're back in the bedroom. I have a couple of lights I want to shut off. These are heat lamps that are in the basement. I use them in the wintertime to control the temperature by the water tanks and the water lines, as well as to control the humidity in the bays, because when you turn these lights on, you actually create dry heat, which dries out all that moisture in there. So go ahead and shut that light off. Here is our secondary inverter. This is what runs our air conditioner and all of our dehumidifiers and our heat lamps in the basement. Just go ahead and shut that off now. Here is the Sun Gold power inverter. Here's the battery shut off for this. It's a 24-volt inverter charger. This is the one that runs the whole RV. So as soon as I shut off this system, the 120-volt inverter will be dead. All the lights should still work in here. All the fans should still work in here because that's on a 12-volt system, which is completely separate. So go ahead and get this inverter off for now. And there you go. You see the lights dim just a little bit as we just go to the 12-volt system. Just gonna step over our bed here. Here's our battery switch. It's just on the side of our bed here. Underneath our bed is where we have the 500 amp battery, and we'll get to that today because I'm going to be checking all the electrical connections on there. But basically, you just want to take that and shut that off, and that is disconnecting the 24-volt battery from the inverter. So right now, we are technically dead in the water. There's no 120-volt electricity in here, and there's no 12-volt electricity coming off of this switch. Here is the bay where all my electrical connections are. This RV originally came with a 50 amp service. And we run it right now off of a 20 amp extension cord. You can see right there. I've done a lot of work to this RV to get it to run off a 20 amp and still be able to run like the air conditioner and like everything in here. Here's that heat lamp that I was talking about. This cord's a little warm from that light being on all the time, but you gotta remember that if I don't keep this light on in here, we have what's called runaway moisture. Let's get this all unplugged. Look at my cord real quick. Oh, that's looking really nice. I don't see anywhere, I guess you can see a little bit black in there, but the connection is still copper colored and clean. I don't think we're pulling too much power from that. Let's go ahead and get us unplugged. As soon as I undo this, now I already unplugged or turned the inverters off and disconnected the battery. This isn't actually powering anything, it's just kind of loosely plugged in. But before I open anything, I want to make sure that the power is dead in here for sure. Let's pull this. You can take a look in here, you can see that I don't see any burning. I put dielectric grease in there and that looks like it has really helped our cause here. And this plug is nice and cool, but we don't have any AC or anything running. Our electrical load is really mitigated. Before I go in here, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn the inverter on one more time, just in case there's any kind of residual electricity left in the capacitors or in any of the electricity transformers. I wanna make sure that there is absolutely no electricity in here before I start digging all this stuff out. And you guys can't see it yet, but this is your automatic transfer switch for the RV. This makes it so that when you plug into shore power or your generator's on, it'll know which one is which, and it will make the according power switch inside of here. And here are all the connections that I made a little over a year ago when I built this whole system. We're gonna pull this cord out of here. I'm gonna find a screwdriver and we're gonna pull these covers off so that I can inspect all the electrical connections inside of here and make sure nothing's gotten too hot and nothing looks out of place. But you just flip that on and see those lights turn on for just a second and power down. So there's a little bit of voltage in there, but it's all been taken back down now. So there's no more electricity in here to power anything. That's what we want. Now we can work on it. I have the cords pulled back here. First thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna check the connections on the big transfer box here. I have power disconnected everywhere. Do not open this up unless you know what you're doing. Just kind of demonstrating what I'm doing. I've been through this whole process before. I consider myself fairly self-educated. I also built the whole system, so I have an idea of what, oh, I don't break that light. That would be bad. That would be bad. Right, let's get this cover off. Okay, we got the cover off. You can see a diagram of everything as it comes in here. And here is everything as it sits in here. You guys can see all of this copper still looks good. I don't see anything discolored. I don't see anything that looks kind of burnt here. You can see your generator and your line feeds all come in from this side. You have a ground right up here. I don't know if you can see what I did in here, but basically this line coming through here is the line that I added to the system. And so basically it's taking the current from right here in this transfer switch. Right here it decides whether or not it is coming in from the generator or it's coming in from the shore power, and it'll switch according to that. And when it switches to that, it sends the electricity out on that line right there. That's going to go all the way to the other side of the RV into my inverter, and then from the inverter it comes all the way back to this junction box. And we're going to open that next, because that junction box is what then takes all the power coming in from either the generator or the shore power or my batteries, and it takes it into this line right here, which is actually going up into my breaker box underneath the fridge, and that's what's powering all the AC load inside of the RV. This looks all really good. We're going to go ahead and put the cover back on this, and then we're going to go ahead and take the cover off that. I love the magic of YouTube. You have to see me trying to dig all these screws out. So this is pretty simple. This is the line in that's coming from the inverter on the other side of the RV, and this is the electrical power for the RV. Now these cables are 50 amp service. You can see they're very thick in there, and this took me forever to get this magic inside of the box. So I don't want to disturb it too much here, but what you are just looking for are any signs of heat or burning, any kind of discoloration on these wires, and it looks to me like we got this thing pretty lit, because this is looking really good. Just deleted a bunch of videos from my phone, because you know that YouTube life, your phone always be full. Anyway, these are okay. I don't see any burn marks. None of this is discolored or melty or any of that. Ground still look good. No fire hazard. Everything checks out. I can put the cover on this and move on to checking all the connections in the basement. There we go. It's all back together. Take this cord, get it pushed back in here. We want to make sure that nothing's getting close to that, because that is going to be coming back on, because again, that's how we control our humidity in here. So this blanket is actually, provides a lot of insulation in the wintertime when it gets real cold. We keep, you know, anywhere from 60 to 70 gallons of water on board all winter. Here are our 2 waste tanks. You have your gray tank and your black tank right there, and we also do use them. And we keep them unfrozen even when the weather gets down to -40. I'll leave a link up to those videos up there for you too. Feel free to check out some of our winter boondocking or winter RVing videos. Oh, that's good for us. Dang it. There we go. This is my mouse trap. Surprisingly, we haven't had any rodents in here in 2 years now on RV. Had to drain this out though, because in here is the rest of the guts. You can see here's the big pure sine wave sun gold inverter, 24 volt. Here's my overkill battery cables that I have in here for a 24 volt system. This thing never really pulls more than like 120 amps ever when we're boondocking, but I have these cables set up for like 400 amps. I like that. I like the overkill feature. Everything's still dead in here. I haven't hooked power back up. Let me show you guys what I'm gonna do. You can see that there's a power distribution bar there for my grounds. We have all these cables that are running up here. I should be doing a better job of cable management. If I had one critique of myself, that would be it. I just kind of knew that I was going to be the only one in here seeing this, so I didn't really run or secure everything back down in here. Plus, I check this religiously every 3 to 4 months. I don't ever let this thing go for very long without, you know, taking a look and making sure everything's tight. So for right now, what I want to do, oh goodness, is we're going to peek my head back here using you guys, and I'm going to make sure that those connections are tight. I can't hold the camera and do that though. This is probably one of the least fun parts about this whole system. I got the power off in here again right now. I just want to make sure that all these are tight. That was pretty tight. It's a bit smidgy of a turn. I've been doing this for a while. You do have a torque setting, so if you want to be absolutely sure you're getting them torqued down correctly, do that. Every time this RV moves, it's like a small earthquake, and the last thing you want is one of these things coming loose, because 100 amps at 24 volts is still a lot of power, and you will hurt something bad. You'll cause a fire, you'll short something out, you'll ruin, you know, really expensive equipment. I just like getting under here and checking all these connections. They're tight. Next I'm gonna do that ground bar. I'm gonna check my ground over here, and then we're gonna go up under the bed and we're gonna start checking batteries. We're back next to my water tank right here. Here's the main ground for the system. I have it grounded to a pretty thick steel plate here that's on the back of the generator wall. Let's see if I can do this for you. It's kind of a stretch. I just want to make sure everything is tight and nothing's discolored. That is nice and tight. Next I gotta, oh God, I gotta figure out how to get back in there. This is the worst part of this. But again, I'd rather do this than have a RV fire. This is a tough, sucky job, but trust me, you need to do it. It's worth it. Heck yeah. Sure. Now what size do you think these things are anyway? 14 be my dear. Tight. Tight. Oh, that's not what you want us to do. That's tight. Last one here is tight. I'm gonna get out of here before I freaking start hyperventilating. How many of you remember me doing this in previous videos and shocking the crap out of myself testing all these connections? Got my handy dandy 17 mil. Let's see how loose these guys are. Whoa, that's 24 volt. So from here all the way to there is very live. So here's where I got to be careful, and right there I just shocked myself. We're gonna fix that so I can't shock myself this time. I should have been doing in those other videos that I was too lazy to do. I should have been taking the ground from the battery off. Now this battery is disconnected, so there is no positive juice over there that can shock me. I should be able to check all these connections with relative ease. Here's all your positive connections coming through. I have this fused a few different ways. I have your main switch coming in from here. Here's your main power fuse. Here's your main maxi fuse for the whole system. And I have it coming up over here to where it is double fused for each inverter. And then these two wires go down to each inverter. So we're just gonna take these, and again, I presume everything's gonna be rock solid tight here. Got a little bit, not much of a turn. I have to hop in here now and do all the rest of these connections. So yeah, wish me luck. Oh, this is my least favorite part of life.
Yeah, careful, don't hit that thing behind you.
That one is a little loose. So is that one. Yeah, I'm catching some loosies in here. Nothing that's like dangerous, but if you didn't do this, over time you could get something in here that was loose enough that it would cause you real problems. And everything's all tight in here now. Nothing was loose, but I'm glad that I was in here because there was a couple of things that needed re-snugging. So by doing this every couple of months, I ensure that I'm never going to have any kind of electrical fires in here, and that this system is going to be running at tip-top optimum shape. We're going to reattach our ground that I disconnected so I wouldn't shock myself this time. This is the first time I've done this that I didn't shock the crap out of myself. Personal growth. You're going to disconnect the battery, any battery, whether it be 12, 24, 48, I don't care what battery you got. Always do the negative side, because the negative side isn't going to give you any sparks when you reconnect it or disconnect it. It's the safest side to disconnect. Now, a lot of these cables you might not understand, but I had to make these cables all equal length for the battery system to discharge and recharge properly. This cable's really expensive, and I had just enough to cover it. I wish I had a little bit longer so that I could have laid some of this in here flat so it wasn't just hanging in here. That's another reason why we come in here and we double and triple check all of our connections. Now that that's good, we can close all this up and we can start turning everything else back on. I just turned this battery back on all the way. Let's see, it is actually not all the way on. There we go. Make sure that is clicked all the way over. You don't want to leave it halfway. You can burn that switch out really easy. Now I have the batteries back on. I can go ahead and turn our inverter back on. There we go. Inverter power on. So you can see that I just got light there. So we're back on the sauce. Let's turn this inverter on too, because we're going to need it for the lights and the dehumidifiers in the basement. And check everything back down in the basement real quick. I got to hook the power cable back up to the RV because right now we're running on the batteries. We got to get the AC on because it is hot in here. We're running out the inverters right now, so that's actually battery power. All right, we just got this plugged back in. Come in here as well because it's a heater for the winter. The last thing I want to do, I can get this out. The dehumidifier we keep down here. Just dump all that out. Get that all put back together and get that on. Right now, we are using 660 watts from this inverter right now. This thing has been a really good inverter for me. It's the secondary inverter. Basically, this controls everything in the basement and the air conditioner when I want a game or when the temperatures get above 100 degrees. I better shut this up before it fills full of bees. This thing is a-okay for the winter time. Next upcoming videos, we'll start to talk about the things that I need to do to, get this thing ready for winter. Because we are going to be, this thing does see... buddy. We got a lot to do to get this thing through the winter. We lived through 2 winters here before, temperatures going down to negative 40 degrees. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. That really helps. We are trying to get to 50 likes on a video. I know it's kind of annoying to ask, but that kind of stuff really does help small channels like ours grow. Thank you guys very much. I'm gonna go get out of this heat and sit in some air conditioning for a while, and we'll see you later.